Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. And on this auspicious of days, guys, the weather here in Germany today is very, very good. It's sunny, it's not very cloudy, and I guess we're approaching summer. We're practically in summer right now, so yeah, I guess the weather is going to be nice for some time. Anyway, so in this video, I want to talk about something which is quite important, actually. It's kind of been doing the rounds in my head, and I wanted to let you guys know about it, which is basically about the importance of forming an off-grid TI community. Why I think it is very important for TIs to get together and band together and form a community. You know, whether you decide to do that within this, excuse my language, piece of shit society, or you decide to do it in an off-grid location completely removed from society, either way, we have to get together. And I'm going to explain why. Basically, it boils down to this psychology. It's psychological reasons. I think that I think most people who are going through gang stalking would agree that the psychological aspect of the gang stalking is the most horrifying aspect. The damages caused psychologically throughout gang stalking is pretty much I think the worst thing about the whole ordeal. I know that TIs have lost their jobs, probably lost connection with some family members. They may have lost a lot of money. But of course, the psychological damage caused by the gang stalking is definitely the worst. So for this reason, I think it is very important for TIs to get together, form a community, a solid community, and look out for each other. And I'm going to talk about something which I believe is very, very important to us targeted individuals, which is for us to rehabilitate ourselves psychologically. So if you have been damaged psychologically, been abused, or you've been put through some pretty bad and difficult situations, you want to make sure that you find yourself in an environment where such activities are not repeated and where you can feel safe enough psychologically that you can thrive mentally. And of course, it is possible for people to recover psychologically or mentally, but you have to remove yourself first from the toxic environment, and you have to put yourself in a supportive environment, in an environment which is going to be good for you mentally. So basically, I want to talk about something. When you look at all the people that you see around you, the so-called normal people, the normies or whatever, that just, they may be gang stalkers, they may not be gang stalkers, it doesn't really matter. But you notice something. They're usually quite happy, very socially well-adjusted. They got a lot of good things happening in their lives. What makes these people happy, in my opinion, is one thing. And this is actually very, very important. You may have difficulties with money. You may be poor. You may have a lack in certain aspects of your life. But if you have this one thing, you're going to be happy. You're going to be fulfilled. And that thing is pride. They have pride. And the reason why they have pride is because they live together in a large community, a strong community, which has a lot of members, and they look out for each other. They feel connected. They feel worth something. They feel valuable. They are made to feel valuable by being a member of this large community, which takes care of them and makes them feel good about themselves. And this is why their pride is usually quite high. Whilst, people who are disenfranchised or outcast and don't actually partake in any kind of society or groups or whatever, would have a tendency to feel pretty bad about themselves. They would feel more shame. They would feel more humiliation. They would feel that their lives are maybe worthless or not valuable enough or not worth living. they would not have that kind of pride. They would not be very prideful people. And of course, that is not the only reason why these normies feel so proud of themselves and therefore become so happy and fulfilled, like on a psychological or spiritual level. It's also because they are constantly making sure that they're succeeding in life. They're constantly getting victories. It's always victory after victory after victory. They're always getting what they want. Always. If you think about a guy, he's always manages to talk to, always has connection with a bunch of women because he's socially connected and popular and well liked. He can get any girl that he wants whenever he wants. He can have sex with a beautiful woman, and women like him, and he's got friends. He can always call up somebody and be like, hey, we're going to go out and do this and this and that. And obviously, depending on whatever activities they decide to partake in, they're probably succeeding in different ways and so on and so forth. So they're always some kind of level of successes, and they're always achieving certain milestones in life. They're reaching certain milestones in life, and they're succeeding in these things. So it's always success after success after success. Obviously, people that are not very prideful, the people who do not live happy lives, they are usually, it's actually the opposite. They're constantly meeting defeat. They're constantly being defeated. They're constantly losing. They're constantly not getting the things that they want. And I'm going to give you guys an example that I really, really like of the opposite of these, happy people. Basically, what is the opposite of these happy people who are fulfilled and always get what they want and they're full of pride? Incels. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this group of people, but there's a group out there called incels. And these incels, basically, they're complaining that their lives are worthless. They're not getting anything they want. I mean, socially. I mean, they may have a good education, they may have jobs, they may have money, but they're not getting anything socially. They're not able to socialize with people. People don't like them, don't want to hang out with them, don't want to have anything to do with them. And these are men, basically, and they're not getting any women. They're not sleeping with any women. So obviously this makes them feel like losers. It makes them feel ashamed, humiliated, and it makes them lose their pride. They don't have any pride in life. They don't feel worth anything in life. This is a problem. If you study this group of incels, you're going to understand this is like the exact opposite of the normal, well-adjusted, successful, happy-go-lucky people. The incels lack pride, whilst these happy people tend to have a lot of pride because these people are succeeding. The incels are losing, always losing. They're never getting what they want. The people that are happy, they're always getting what they want, so they're always happy. Anyway, so I talked about pride. I talked about why pride has a huge effect on happiness, and I talked about where this pride is coming from. I said that it's because they are part of a large group of people that look out for each other and care about each other and make each other feel valuable. And it's also because they are always succeeding. There's always victories. They're always getting the things they want. One of the things you will see that these sort of normal, well-adjusted people do is, they're not good people. They're not nice people. They are not, actually. You can just ask the people who are outcasts and the people who are not well liked by society how they get treated by such normal, well-adjusted people, and they're going to tell you everything. So what they do is oftentimes they look out for people who are disenfranchised, people who are outcast or on the outside of society, and they like to go and harass them or abuse them or trash talk them or mock them or make them feel bad or something like that. And because they engage in this activity on a daily basis or a lot, they tend to actually feel quite good. Because if you're constantly putting other people down, you're actually going to feel very good about yourself. Because you can consider it some kind of victory. For example, if you're living as a slave in some kind of society in the, I don't know, medieval times or in the ancient times, you would not have pride because you would always be losing. You would always be mistreated. You would always be getting the raw the wrong end of the stick, you would never be succeeding. You would not get victories. You would always have defeat. You would have losses. So this is something that they do. It's like a privilege. The ability to go out there and abuse and trash talk and mistreat other people or treat them as being lower than you is basically a way that these people kind of, it's like you can consider it mini victories. These are some kind of mini psychological victories, kind of like a privilege of people who see themselves as being better or superior, that they can get away with doing this to other people, and therefore kind of like proving that they're better than others or whatever. Yeah. So this is how it is. Where this ties into, well, into us basically as targeted individuals. And of course, guys, I've said this, I don't know if I've said this, but I'm going to repeat it. With all the shit that has happened to me in gang stalking, with all the crap that I've been putting up with, I have never a single time seen myself as a victim. And I don't recommend any one of you to call themselves victims. We are not victims. I do not see myself as a victim. I've had to endure some pretty horrible shit happen to me. Some pretty bad things have happened to me. I've dealt with that. I'm way beyond that fucking shit. Way beyond that fucking shit. I may tell you my story about gang stalking. This is what happened. But I do not see myself as a victim. I am way above that. So, yeah. What can we as targeted individuals do that these people who are successful and prideful are doing, which is getting them success? Well, like I said, they have a community, a solid community. They have numbers. They have people that are a large group of people that they're a part of, that take care of each other and make them feel good and make them feel valued. This is what we need as targeted individuals. And I've said this before, man, in my video, my second video, which was the formation of an off-grid TI community. We need to get together and form a community. This is very important psychologically. It's actually much more important psychologically than physically. It is not just about living in an environment where there is no gang stalking, so you don't have to deal with gang stalking and gang stalkers anymore. It is actually much more important from a psychological perspective. It's so that TIs can get together and start living a life that is actually worth living. Because if you think about it, what kind of life are you living under gang stalking in Europe or America or whatever the fuck you're having to live with gang stalking? What kind of life is that? That is not a life. That is not a life. So I think this idea of forming an off-grid TI community is actually a very good idea, even from a psychological perspective. I bet you we would feel a million times better living like that than we would living under this society and under these conditions. So anyway, I've said what I've said, and yeah, actually, we want to talk a little bit about something that's kind of just interesting, some interesting ideas, but this is more on the motivational lines. But there were many stories about people throughout history that have been mistreated by others, subjugated by others, treated as lower than or lesser than or as almost as slaves, who have fought for their freedom and right to be free and to live as they wish to live and to live in a way that is dignified. This is a story that has happened over and over and over again and throughout history. You could look at the history of Islam. I don't like religion. I don't like Islam very much. But the story of Islam, how Islam came to be, is actually a very heroic story. You look at these people, Muhammad, for example, who was abused and shunned and mistreated by his people for many, many, many years. And then he gathers some people, some followers, he starts a religion, and then he has armies and he starts attacking and conquering the neighboring tribes, and then he attacks, Mecca, where he was raised, and he slaughters these people and kills them and gets back at them, so to speak. But either way, the story is about someone who is fighting for his rights, fighting for his freedom, fighting for his dignity, fighting against subjugation, fighting against mistreatment and injustice. There's also the story of America. America is actually a very, very similar story. How was America formed? Basically, there was colonies. The early pioneers, they left Europe sometime in the, I don't know, 16th or 17th century, and they formed these colonies like Jamestown and all those colonies in like Pennsylvania and Virginia, West Virginia. Well, no, well, Virginia, yeah, and all these different places. But that was the story of America. Is that basically when they came and they formed these colonies, they were subjected to the rule of the English. You have to literally, proverbially, bow down to the British colonists. Basically, that the King of England had a right to tell you what to do in the colonies. Of course, the American colonies were initially just a bunch of English colonies, basically, and they had to pay taxes to the King of England. They had to give resources to these people. They had some to adhere to certain laws that were being made and all this. And of course, all this culminated until a point where the famous story of the Boston Tea Party happened. Everybody knows about the Boston Tea Party. When Americans said, you know what, we've had enough. We've had enough of this mistreatment and injustice and all of this. We've had enough. So they gathered together and said, hey, you know what? It is our forefathers who came to these lands and who are the ones who built these colonies themselves. We are the ones who fought tooth and nail to create these colonies and to set ourselves up here in America. Why are we being subjected to these English cunts? Why do we have to bow down to the King of England? We don't have to. And that's when the Boston Tea Party happened. Of course, the Americans got together and revolted, and they fought. Of course, the English didn't just sit there and do nothing. They sent the Royal Brigade, and they fought against them, and they won. And that's how America became a nation, became a country known as the United States of America, and that's how they gained their freedom and so on and so forth. So this story has happened many, many times again. I think it's very similar to the story that we are living as targeted individuals with this gang stalking, is that we are being oppressed, we are being abused, we are being mistreated, we are being treated unjustly, and so on and so forth. And we have to do something to rise up against these people and to take matters into our own hands if we want to live lives that are dignified and full of freedom and dignity and so on and so forth. Anyway, guys, I hope this is motivation for you guys. And if you like my content, like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys in the next one.